Well, first I want to thank everyone who's here with us today. It's nice to see so many people who have dedicated their lives to serving the people of Pittsburgh coming back to recognize 1/4 of a century later the work of Mayor Tom Murphy. We recognize Mayor Murphy's accomplishments today, not realizing where the path was going 25 years ago. As we've said many times, we've had the distinct honor and pleasure of serving as the mayor of two very different cities.
Yeah, that's right.
One city that was on the verge of financial collapse, that was going through the days of heavy recession following a depression, that wasn't sure what it would become. And today, a city that is on the path of a new future that is based on strong economics and that opportunity to see it come back even stronger than it was before. The city that the mayor had was one that needed leadership that required vision. It was one that required leadership that was willing to take bold action. And it was one that would require years for the rest of Pittsburgh to really fully understand what that course was necessary to do. And for that, and for these past 25 years of making sure we stayed on that path, on behalf of the people of the city of Pittsburgh, it's my honor to thank Mayor Tom Murphy for the work that he did for this city. It's now my also honor to take a moment to read this proclamation dedicating today to the 25th anniversary of him being sworn in as the 57th mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, and then to present this, the key of the city of Pittsburgh, to Tom and Mona, and to be able to recognize the others that have received this. Jack Shea, Father Jack O'Malley, I shouldn't have gone down this rabbit hole. Bill Strickland, Alma Speed Fox, and was there one more? That's it. Okay.
I'm honored to be in that group.
It is a group of great people who've been trailblazers for the city of Pittsburgh. Whereas the son of a steelworker, Mayor Thomas J. Murphy, Jr., was born in Pittsburgh's Greenfield neighborhood in 1944. He would graduate from John Carroll University in 1967 before receiving a graduate degree from Hunter College in Urban Studies in 1973. And whereas after meeting and marrying the love of his life, Mona, in 1967, the two began their long career of dedication to others. Joining the Peace Corps in rural Paraguay, they constructed sanitary facilities in an elementary school. After the Peace Corps, the Murphys would return to Pittsburgh, and he became a neighborhood organizer for the North Side before entering local politics. Whereas Mayor Murphy would go on to serve the North Side as a state representative in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, representing the 17th and the 20th districts from 1979 to 1993. In that role, he often wrote legislation that supported technology-based development in critical land reuse projects. And whereas in 1993, Mayor Murphy would win the Democratic nomination to become mayor of Pittsburgh, being inaugurated as the city's 57th mayor on this day, January 3rd, in 1993. And whereas Mayor Murphy's time as mayor would see unappalled development in Pittsburgh, his vision for the future propelling the city into the 21st century as a technology and educational hub. And whereas perhaps one of Mayor Murphy's most enduring accomplishments was his dedication to Pittsburgh's green spaces and riverfronts, Mayor Murphy early on recognized their role as a vibrant asset to our city. His investment saw the creation of tens of miles of remarkable riverfront green spaces. And whereas after a decade of leading Pittsburgh, Mayor Murphy left office in 2006, he made history as the longest serving mayor of Pittsburgh, second only to that of David Lawrence. And whereas today, Mayor Murphy's enduring legacy is his role as a husband, father, and grandfather. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, William Peduto, Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh, do thank Mayor Thomas J. Murphy for his decades of dedication and service to Pittsburgh, awarding him with our highest civilian honor, the key to the city. Furthermore, declaring January 3rd, 2019 as Mayor Thomas J. Murphy Day here in our most livable city of Pittsburgh. Before I present the key, I just also want to present this legislation to you that will be submitted to City Council this afternoon. Dear Mr. President and members of Council, please find enclosed for your consideration a resolution requesting authorization to name the North Shore section of the Three Rivers Heritage Trail after former Mayor Thomas J. Murphy in recognition of his 25th anniversary of his inauguration as the 57th Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh. And the legislation itself reads, pursuant to Chapter 173, Section 2, Commission on Naming Public Properties of the City Code, the mayor to name the North Shore section of Three Rivers Heritage Trail from its start at West Hall Street in Brighton Heights till the trail's terminus in the City of Pittsburgh's border in Troy Hill after former Mayor Thomas J. Murphy in recognition of his 25th anniversary of his inauguration in his 57th. So you'll be honored to know that this key is made by the hands of steel workers at Wendell August Forge. And it's made, and as you know, there's only a few of them that are out there to be presented to you and in recognition of the work that you have done for the people
Thank you
of
very
the
much.
City of Pittsburgh.
I'm honored. Thank you for doing this, reminding me how old I'm getting, for number one. And the other, I always said I didn't want anything named after me until I was dead. But I'll accept this because it's so important to me. So thank you very much, and I really do appreciate this. And I'm here because of a lot of the people in this room. Most important, my wife, Mona, called Saint Mona by a lot of people, and my family, TJ and Shannon and Wyatt and Molly couldn't be here, but they went through a lot. All of them got carried on our backs as we door knocked. My cousins are here, put up a lot of fuss. One of the things I learned early on in politics, Bill, and I'm sure you've learned, is anytime you want to do something different, there are going to be 100 people yelling at you, at least, and nothing changes unless you are prepared to move forward. And so overcoming that obstacle is really a big challenge that we faced. And so the people that are here that helped shape this city, who worked with me for 12 years, really understood how difficult it was to get people to think about Pittsburgh in a different way. That we were in a different place, and we were managing a city that was in decline and badly in decline, and we needed to think about how to change our mindset. And and I can remember going when we bought Mulu's here, and we asked him to start. Where are you, Mulu? We asked him to buy lots of property, and I want you to think about. We bought an old steel mill site in the south side, and we bought a slag dump up in Squirrel Hill, and we bought an old abandoned Sears building in East Liberty, and we tore down old Three Rivers Stadium, and we figured out how to do all that stuff. And if you look at it today, it is unimaginable. And how did we figure out how to finance that with no money? We figured it out. I get invited all over the world because people want to know how we did that. How did we finance billions of dollars worth of development? We did it because of smart people who understood how to put financing together. We just celebrated First Night. Judy Kelly, who's sitting here, brought First Night from Boston. And so we were willing to think about Pittsburgh in a different kind of way. And Darla ran all the trails for us. And, people the trails, the riverfronts were there for thousands of years, but nobody ever thought much about doing anything with them. And we made a decision that they could be a great asset for riding bike or walking. One of the really great moments I had was when I was over by the water steps. We call those TJ's water steps. He inspired us when he was young to do that. And this couple came riding down on a bike, and I stopped and started talking to them, and they were 86 and 82 years old, and they hadn't ridden bikes in 60 years, but they now were riding bikes again because the trail was there, it was flat. They didn't have to worry about cars. They loved it. It changed people's lives. And Bill, what I learned most of all was that I was standing on the shoulders of Sophie Maslow and Dick Caligiuri and other people that had made decisions, some good, some bad, but made decisions at a time in their lives when they saw what was thought the right thing, and I built on what their decisions were. And you're facing that also. You're standing on the shoulders of me and other people that came after me with the idea of how to build a great city. And I have to say finally that there was I would have not worried much about, when I became mayor, I did not worry much about what it was going to look like or what the use was. We just wanted to see development. And I had two great planning directors. I had Eloise Hirsch and Susan Gollum here. Susan's here, who really understood that we had to build with a high quality of design and excellence, not just simply it'll do kind of approach. And I use that when I go to talk to other cities. I say, when you come into your city, when you come into Pittsburgh, you wouldn't put a sign up and say, "Welcome to Pittsburgh, we're a mediocre city," would you? And yet, that's what people do by what they build. And so I hope you, and I know you have been focused on that importance of quality of what we build and how it shapes the image of a city. You have the best job in America. You know that already, right? It is the best job in America to be mayor of Pittsburgh. It is a remarkable city, and I get a chance now to see that even more. I travel pretty much every week to cities all over the world, and I'm glad to come home, and what I realize is that Pittsburgh is a very special place, and the most important part of it is the partnerships that we have. That how we can fight like a family with each other, but at the end of the day, we come together. And we're a remarkable partnership in this city. And Bill, I think you really rose to the occasion as a statesman with the tragedy we had at the Tree of Life, where you saw and brought this city together in a remarkable kind of way. So I want to thank you for this honor, but I want to also say that it's not done. That's the challenge of being a mayor and of being on council and being a county executive. It's never done, right? There's always more to do. And so it's your jobs now to get it done. Keep going. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate and thank Mayor Murphy for the work that he did. And we do get to stand on his shoulders, Bill and I. And, when you think about other cities who went through a lot of the same industrial decline in the late 70s and the 80s. And we probably went through it worse than anybody. I can't imagine even the Clevelands, Detroits, Buffaloes, St. Louis's, all the ones in the Great Lakes region, the industrial Midwest that went through it. We've come back better than anybody. And I think this mayor deserves a lot of credit for that happening. We were all excited about making the top 20 list with Amazon. I don't think we would have if it wasn't for a lot of the quality of life and a lot of the initiatives and the bold moves that Mayor Murphy took back in the 90s and early 2000s. So Bill and I get kind of benefit from that and all the great things, the trails, what's happened on the North Shore, what's happened over at the old steel mill site in the South Side, et cetera, et cetera. That vision and that difficulty in doing it at a time when there wasn't the resources and there wasn't the money, there wasn't the growth that's happening right now. So we do get the benefit from a lot of the decisions and a lot of the work that Tom and the people in this room did. So I want to thank him, and couldn't be more of an honor. And I'm going to ride that trail. I love that trail you built. Thank you.
I love the fact that you ride bikes.
We'll
now.
continue to do it. You got me back on my bike too. I don't like that traffic either. But between all the good work with bike infrastructure, it's made Pittsburgh a very, very vibrant city. And the last thing I'll say is I know the mayor gets to, when he goes to the National League of Cities and I go to the National League of Counties, they always point to Pittsburgh and what they've done, and how they do things. And you know, the mayor and I got to take a famous ride with President Obama a couple years ago when he came to town. And the one question he asked both of us was, how did Pittsburgh was able to do it? And he named a whole bunch of other cities that I just previously mentioned that haven't been able to do it. And what you guys have done has just been incredible. And you know, the guy to my left deserves an awful lot of that credit. So thank you, Tom, and thank you for all the work that you did.
Mayor Murphy, or Tom and Mona, I remember before TJ was born, and the vision that you had as a community leader and as a mayor in this city. He got down in the trenches. He was down the river. Oops, it's my phone. Okay. Down the river, pulling at trees, pulling at tires, and had that vision to have the trail that we have today. And I'll never forget, as you were running for mayor, you had little TJ, I still call him little, TJ, he'd have him on his back and come around to all the neighborhoods. And I think you had every house in the city of Pittsburgh, 50,000 homes. But the other thing is, he always found time to do some running. And when he was at home, you took all 3 or 4 dogs with you. So I know you're an animal lover, and you love the trails, and you love the city of Pittsburgh. And I want to thank you and Mona for everything you have done for the city of Pittsburgh, not just Northside, but for the entire city of Pittsburgh. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
The president.
Bruce?
Such an honor. Thank you. I'm not exactly sure what I can offer except this, and that is the humanity of Tom Murphy. I don't even think you would remember this. I'd be very surprised if you did. But Tom did like to run, and he would run often in the South Side. And I would stop him in the street, and I would ask him these deep philosophical questions about the city. And he would stop that run, and he would talk to me and answer my questions. And I'm sure he didn't have a clue who I was. But that was the humanity of Tom Murphy, the people person that he is, and the way that he led this city from the heart, and knew the power of the people and connecting with the people. And that, for me, is the legacy of Tom Murphy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If I may, thank you. Congratulations, Mayor Murphy. I'll take a brief trip down memory lane. I also want to acknowledge the work that Mayor Murphy did to establish the River Life Task Force and River Life Now. And I don't know that you remember this. I never imagined 20 years ago that I would run for council and be on council, but I was actually on the boat tour with John Craig and David McCullough. I was one of the token young people that Mayor Murphy brought along. It was almost 20 years ago, and I was in my early 30s. And it was also a really important priority to engage young people in the future of Pittsburgh's leadership. And I'm no longer one of those young people, but we really have also succeeded in establishing Pittsburgh as a destination for young people. And my district now on City Council represents so much population change, and we have so many young leaders. So I just wanted to remind you of that, and thank you so much for engaging me in that trip.
I just got to follow up. This was really a remarkable treat.
It was.
Is that David McCullough, who you all know, and I had an opportunity to do boat tours with people, and he talked about the history, and I talked about what the future could be. And so we would go by places, and he would know the history of this is where the boat of Lewis and Clark was built, and what was there. And I'd talk about, we're going to take all this down and build this old steel mill and build a new mixed income. And if you think about it, if you go up and down the rivers 25 years ago, billions of dollars of stuff that are there now didn't exist. And so it was a remarkable moment.
It was
you
wonderful.
remind me about, right?
Yes, thank you.
To hear David McCullough talk about the history
Yeah.
and how this city has
It's
changed
radically
so-
transformed
so-
since
so-
then. Thank
and
you so
Strip
much.
District particularly.
Exactly. Strip and Lawrenceville, thank you for your leadership. Thank you.
And we're not done. Darla is still building trails, by the way. She's not done. We stole her.
I'll summarize. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having the vision and the courage. I often say it's the Wizard of Oz element of it. You have to have the brain in order to be able to see what isn't there. You have to have that courage in order to be able to do it. And you have to have the heart in order to be able to believe in it to make it happen. On behalf of the people of
I did
Pittsburgh.
this before the internet, thank goodness. Also.
Yeah. You missed out on Twitter. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to all the former administrators of Pittsburgh and for helping us to get to this point where we're at today in this city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.